Welcome students. This chapter is totally based on NCERT, The Living World, Chapter 1. So in this video session, we will cover the boards as well as the NEET Medical Entrances. So let's begin this chapter. Let's start the second part of this video, the taxonomical aids, and the first one is the herbaria. Now this is nothing but a collection of dried and pressed plants, a specimen, and that is kept for future references, and it also helps in a taxonomy, so that's why it's placed in a taxonomical aids. Another one is the botanical gardens. Nowadays we have a lots of botanical gardens that has a huge diversity or huge number of plant species, very well labeled, and any person interested in studying the taxonomy can take these gardens as a reference point. Now next is the museum. Obviously museum harvest or museum has the huge collection of different specimen of different plants and animals, so obviously museums also prove to be a good taxonomical aids. Later on, next comes the zoological parks, or simply talking about the zoo. In a zoo you will find lots of animals as well as some plant species. Basically it is devoted to animals, so and also all the animals are well labeled and they have a living one. Some more taxonomical aids like the flora. It contains the actual account of habitat and distribution of plants of a given area, so it's a descriptive nature that targets a account of a given area, and it has the index to the plant species and some other species found in that particular area. So that's basically a flora. Next comes the manual. Since manual is given for some it's a book like history, you know what is a manual is. So manual regarding the taxonomical aid is what it is, provides information for identification of names of species found in a given area. That's a manual. Now another one is the monograph. It mono means it's single, so obviously it targets only one taxon. So information is only regarding only one taxon of a, it may be at a species or it may be related to the genus, etc. Another one is the catalog. As the name suggests, catalog is simply a list of all the things. You have a electronic catalog or some catalog regarding the camera and other things. Similarly, in case of taxonomy, we have a catalog. So obviously that catalog is arranged in alphabetical order. So you can say it's simply a listing of all species in a given area and organized in some way, usually alphabetical. And we don't have a key in a catalog. It's simply just a list of animals alphabetically, and we don't have any photographic details or any such details for comparison. It's simply a discrete listing of species alphabetically. That's a catalog. Now let's start the taxonomical aid, that is the key. The taxonomical key in NCERT, not so much given about the taxonomical key, but let's quickly recall about the points given in taxonomical key. Then I will explain it with the help of a diagram. So let's start the point-wise description of the key. So number one point is it is the key is used for the identification of plants and animal based on similarities and dissimilarities, and based on contrasting characters, generally in a pair called couplet. So in a taxonomical key we have two statements. They're together called as couplet, and each of the statement from these two statements, one has to select either one of them and reject the other. Now in a couplet, the two options are just opposite, and a taxonomist should choose either of these, and one of the each of the statement in a couplet is known as lead. That will be made clear to you later on, what is a lead and what is couplet. Now let's see the next point, that is I've already told you we have to accept one of the options from the couplet and reject the other, and as it keeps on moving to you to clarify your sample, or to clarify your new spaces into a new category. So it's a way how we can identify the different species, and just by selecting the couplet, one of the options from the couplet, and finally we will derive to the positioning of this new species. So because there is a huge diversity among the living organisms, so it's not possible to construct a key that is universally applicable. We cannot create a key that applies to all or every type of organism so that we can easily identify its ranking. So each of the keys has a different types or different type of keys is present for different taxonomic category. Hence a key may be a class key, or it can be order key or a family key, genus key or species key, depending on what you are trying to do. Now let's understand this with the help of an example. Suppose a taxonomist has found a new species and he want to find out to what category or to what division or group his new species belongs to. In that scenario, a taxonomic key will help him a lot. So I have designed a simple sample taxonomic key that doesn't look like the exact original key, but it's very well designed so that you can easily understand. Now suppose the taxonomist with his new species tries to reference this key, and I have already told you that each of the taxonomic key has a pair of statement known as couplet, and one has to select one of them. So let's see. I have shown you a couplet that is a two statement and it is numbered as 1 and 1. So first statement says that unicellular prokaryotic organism with cell wall. So the taxonomist will try to compare his new species that he has found with this statement. If the first statement fit his criteria, that is unicellular prokaryotic organism with the cell, he will go with the first statement. If not, if the second statement is applicable for his new species, so he will go for the second statement, that is the unicellular or multicellular eukaryotic organisms with or without cell wall. Let's say that specimen belongs to the first category of the statement, so that is unicellular prokaryotic organism with cell wall. So what it be now, it will lead to another couplet, that is the cell walls with muramic acid or the cell walls without muramic acid. Now suppose this specimen belongs to the first statement of the second couplet, that is cell walls with muramic acid, that is it belongs to domain bacteria. Now suppose if does not the first statement is not applicable to his specimen, he will compare with the second one, that is the cell walls without muramic acid. If that is the case, then it belongs to domain archaea. Now similarly, if suppose the first statement of the couplet 1 is not applicable, the second statement, that is unicellular multicellular eukaryotic organism with or without cell wall, suppose this second statement is applicable with his specimen, then what will he do? He will select the second one and leave the first one. So second one, suppose he selects the second one, that is the couplet 1 of the second statement. If he selects that and this statement applies to his specimen, then what will happen? It will go to the new lead, that is number 3. That is again a couplet, organism with unicellular reproductive structures, number 3, and another one, organism with multicellular reproductive structure. So in this you can see clearly that we have a two statement, and obviously if this is applicable to his new specimen, he will identify or he will select either of these, not both. He will select either of these two statements, that these two statement is the couplet and one of them is the lead, so obviously he will select the lead. Now suppose the taxonomist has selected the first statement of the third couplet, that is the organism with unicellular reproductive structures, then what will happen? Let's see. We have again another couplet with the two statements, cell walls without chitin, cell walls with chitin, and obviously we have to select either of the couplet. We cannot select the both. So suppose the first part, that is the first statement of the fourth couplet is applicable, that is cell walls without chitin, then obviously his specimen belongs to kingdom Protista. Now suppose the first is not applicable, suppose second statement of the fourth couplet is applicable, that is cell walls with chitin. Now this organism or the specimen of the taxonomist belongs to the kingdom fungi, since fungi has chitin in their cell wall. Now let's say for example out of these one, the couplet 1, the second statement is applicable, but in the case of the third couplet, that is couplet number 3, first statement is not applicable. Suppose the third, organism with multicellular reproductive structure, is applicable, then what happens in this case? And obviously the organism with multicellular reproductive structure, it may belongs to Plantae, or it may belongs to Animalia. Right now I am considering the Plantae. So organism with multicellular reproductive structure is kingdom Plantae. Now, if he select, if the specimen, the characteristics of the specimen belongs to this category, then he will have another couplet, that is plants without true xylem or phloem, or you can say plants with true xylem and phloem. Suppose the first statement is applicable for this specimen, then what will he will say? The plant with true xylem or without true xylem or phloem, that obviously belongs to phylum Bryophyta. But suppose the plant, the specimen, because we are taking the kingdom Plantae, suppose the specimen has the true xylem and phloem. Obviously, that may belongs to lots of categories, because again it is further divided into pteridophytes, gymnosperm, angiosperm, similarly. So it will keep on going until unless the his specimen is placed in a specific, well categorized taxonomic category. So in this way, that key leads the, or it directs the taxonomist to a specific ranking of his specimen, and that's why it provides some sort of features that is useful for the taxonomist. Although it's not possible to construct a key, and it is not always helpful for most of the species, some work is needed to be done, but obviously it is of much use for the taxonomist. So this is all about the taxonomic key that was given in the NCERT book of class 11.